Hey everyone. Hi, welcome to the Thursday Checkdown, where we know there's no off season and we try to bring all the best in fantasy football to you to help you, the fantasy football player, be more successful. Well, tonight we have a real special treat. We have returning to us Greg Kellogg, Fantasy Sports Writers Association Hall of Famer. We have him returning as co-host and returning to the show that he actually created. So I'm excited to reintroduce you all to Greg. And Greg, why don't you say hi?
Hey, I go away and the show just goes to Hades in a handbasket. Starting 2 minutes late? Are you on California time? You're a Texan for good's sake. Come on now. No, I'm Greg
Yeah.
Kellogg, and I just got back from the Fantasy Football Expo up in Canton at the Hall of Fame. And I was there with JC and Rick and a lot of the folks from TSA, but also a lot of the people that built this industry. And I'm just really excited. And our guest tonight, man, he was up there too, and he had a panel on a topic that should interest everybody.
Yeah. In fact, Ronnie Evans is in the green room. So we'll give him a second. We'll bring him on board. He's a key member of the TSA family, but also, as you mentioned, one of the experts on artificial intelligence and how it can be used to help us become better at fantasy football. So why don't we go ahead and bring Ronnie back onto the stage as well? Hey there,
Hey
Ronnie.
guys,
How you doing?
Hey,
I'm doing
buddy.
well. How are y'all? Hey, how's my
Hey,
mic and everything? Sorry I couldn't get on beforehand. I just got home a little late.
No,
no
you you're
worries. Okay.
you're sounding great, but I have to tell you a story, Ronnie. Now, Rick's heard it. I'm not sure you have. Flying home from the expo, Tip and I went up to Cleveland, and then we flew together to Nashville. And then Tip is going to Houston. I'm going to Austin. They're so close to each other, different flights. So I get on a flight, and because of my knees, I get to get a Southwest, no assigned seats. I go in and I sit down. There's a kid that's basically 22 years old, sitting on the plane, and he's a recent graduate from West Point. Now, for those that don't know, that's our military academy. He is now an officer in the United States military. Well done, Daryl. And he wants to be a Black Hawk pilot. So we're sitting there and we're talking about fantasy football, and they're boarding the plane, and somebody gets on and wants the seat between us. Daryl was kind enough. He enjoyed the conversation enough. He asked the guy if he would take the window seat so he could sit in the middle to sit next to me so we could talk football the entire trip. Now,
That's
again,
awesome.
I said, this guy is a recent graduate from West Point and he wants to be a Black Hawk pilot. And I salute that. I'm a former military intelligence Army analyst. But I get home Tuesday, I'm going through all the contacts I made. And one of the guys I met there was a guy named Brett Lanier, who is Better Vision's
Brett's awesome.
CEO. Well, Brett is awesome, but Brett is also a former West Point grad who was an actual Black Hawk pilot. Now, this kid wants to be a Black Hawk pilot. I know a guy who was a Black Hawk pilot. This kid's interested in fantasy. I know a guy that's built an industry in fantasy. I got to tell you, um, I gave Brett's contact information to Daryl, and I do believe I gave Daryl's to Brett. Um, and I'm just hoping they get together and they can work it out because Brett is awesome. And he's done what this kid wants to do. And I got to tell you, West Point turns out men. I shouldn't call him a kid because he's a man. But when you're 70 and you're talking to somebody who's 22, he's a kid. Sorry, he just is.
I
But
got two good responses to that. One is really ironic, but that's an awesome story. I love Brett. That's cool that you met that guy, and I love that you got to talk to somebody just about football on a plane and hold them hostage for a little while. I am related to somebody that now instructs flying helicopters in the Navy and
Oh, wow,
went
nice.
in to the Navy and Air Force to try to fly planes, but was too big. And so he got put in helicopters and he flew Blackhawks and did rescue stuff in Iraq and has been over there. He did that for like 10 or 15 years. And then now he's an instructor. So small world. The other thing is West Point. I'm not going to say what school I work at, but I am almost 100% certain a few years ago, maybe it was closer to like a decade ago, we had a graduate come out of high school and go to West Point, and I think they've reset most of their records in their fitness test for the first time in like 20 years. So small world on both of those ends. And for me, actually, I just was at that school all day, and I want you guys both to know, I drove 13 hours on Monday, got home around midnight, got up at 6:30 in the morning and went and worked at school until 5, went home and fell asleep, got up and did the same thing today and came back and got on this. And so I might be a little out of it. If anyone watching is in leagues with me, I've missed a few picks over the last day and a half, and I apologize. I just haven't had a second to catch my breath. And I actually have so much to do for all this AI stuff that I want to have rolling for everyone this season. So, the weekend's going to be a busy one for me, it looks like.
We're going to talk about Goodguy.ai and what you got planned. But I want to start off going over our memories from the expo and let everybody know.
Oh, yeah.
If you're into fantasy football, you've got to get there. You will see people like Queen Gina Noble. Queen Gina actually won the Queen's Classic, and she's walking around with a crown. And there's a company, Marcus Howard runs a company, Crown Champions, and he gave me this ring, nice. And it says GOAT on it. And so I'm buying 2 rings for my 2 leagues, my personal leagues, champions for this year, that are fantasy football champion rings. But he put Gina on. He had a throne at the expo, and he posed Gina on it with a robe and a scepter. And that was, thanks, Gina. It is an amazing ring. But God, another story. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm waiting for Tip to come down, and a kid named Nick that we just met there that we were giving a ride to the airport. I'm sitting there, and people congregate around me. So I'm sitting and talking, and all of a sudden a guy comes up and says, "You're Greg Kellogg." And I says, "Yes, I am." He says, "I'm Rick Wolf." Now, if you don't know, Rick Wolf is a giant in this industry. Mm-hmm. I've known Rick for 35 years. I have never known him. I've never met him, but I've known who he is. He built CBS Sportsline from nothing to a $30 million industry. Scotty Engel, Hall of Fame with me, he hired Scotty. So I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm dumbfounded. Not only does this guy come up, not only does he know me, he gives me his phone number, and before the day's over, he texts me 4 times. And now I'm going to get him on our podcast in the off season, Rick, and we're going to find out his story from beginning to end about his fantasy walk, because there's so many people that built this industry. And I find, even if you just build Goodguy.ai, when you've got that ready and going, we're going to get you on in the off season to sell what's coming up next year, because I know you're going to refine it and do more things, but what it does now. So we want you to tell your story. How did you get involved with, AI is a computer thing. How did you get involved with fantasy and AI? So we'll do that in the preseason. Right now, we're going to talk about the things. But Rick, I got to ask you, most memorable moment at the expo for you?
Well, and I was a first timer there. So I was your expo virgin, and it was just an overwhelming experience meeting with all these people that I followed on Twitter, that I've seen on YouTube or on podcast channels, and to get a chance to meet so many people and get a chance to meet them in person and then talk with them in person. It was just a great experience. In fact, if anyone hasn't gone to the expo, whether or not you're a content person or whether you're just a fan, it's such a great experience. Everybody is friendly. Everybody is willing to talk with you. So you shouldn't feel uncomfortable about walking up and joining a conversation or just walking up directly to people. There's a lot of planned activities that where you can go and just mill about and meet these people. There were also some unplanned activities. I can remember going to George's, which is a kind of a dive bar.
Restaurant
Yeah.
bar.
And I'm sitting at the bar and I'm kind of talking with someone on to my left, and then I look over to my right, and Justin Boone was sitting right next to me, and I used Justin Boone rankings for every league I've been in. So and to be able to sit and talk with him for probably 20 or 30 minutes about not only the approach he takes and how he builds out his rankings, but to even sneak in I'm on the clock and I need to draft, or a running back, should I take this one or that one? It was just an experience. And
go ahead.
I was going to say, even just meeting and sharing a meal with the TSA family, we work with each other, but I've met Greg and I've met Tip before in person, but going to breakfast and sitting down and talking with Ronnie, was just great. And he was sitting right next to me. So, this is the sort of thing that, I think was the highlight. It's just the people, just meeting so many great people. And JJ Winter, who's in
our chat,
to meet him and talk with him. And that was one of the high points. So,
it's not just JJ Winter. JJ Zacharison's there. Matt Harmon's there.
Mm-hmm.
My personal hero, the guy that taught me everything I know about fantasy football, Bob Harris, is there. And here's what I'll tell you. We're going to get into Ronnie, because Ronnie had a session on AI at there where he's explaining AI to everybody. And so we will get into that. I want to get Ronnie's favorite moment too, but just the number of photos that I took this year. Normally, I'm just enjoying myself and talking and stuff. This year, I decided I turned 70 in November. So I'm getting pictures of me with people. Andy Behrens, okay? Brad Evans. If you've never met Brad Evans, in the auction draft, he was hilarious. Everybody else is doing one of these to raise the bid. Behrens, 10, 15. He got really excited. It was great. It was just so much fun. You got Fabs there. Michael Fabiano. You got everybody that you could think of is there. Jeff Ratcliffe. Now, I get home, and I've got Sirius XM in my car, but I don't listen to it that much. But I just happen to turn on the Fantasy Sports Network on Sirius. And who's talking? Bob Harris. My friend, I've known Bob for 30 years. My friend is on the radio talking, and I thought that was so cool. And then the next morning I get up, and a guy that I got a picture with for the very first time, Jeff Ratcliffe, is on. And I got to tell you, I always wondered a little bit, why didn't Sirius come to me? I'm a Hall of Famer. Why not have me on the air? Now, I don't want a job, but I thought it'd be fun and everything. I listened to Jeff Ratcliffe. Now I know why Sirius didn't come to me. I ain't qualified. Jeff Ratcliffe is so good on the radio. Number one, he's outstanding as an analyst, but the way he delivers what he's doing, my God, I'm awestruck. This is a guy. We've got our own Casey Kasem, but I remember when Casey Kasem was a disc jockey. Okay, and Jeff Ratcliffe, this guy, he could be on TV because he's pretty to begin with, but he's also very good at delivering information. But I got to go to you, Ronnie, because I'm talking way too much because it's my first show back. But Ronnie, you're there all weekend. What was your most memorable moment outside of when you were doing the panel on AI? Just somebody you met, something you did. What was your most
and also outside of sitting next to me at breakfast? Now, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes. All right. You brought up Fabs, which was really funny. I walked up with Debra, who I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few years, and I said,
Oh,
hey,
wait a
and
minute.
I
Wait a
worked
minute.
it.
Just in case our people don't know,
Derek.
Debro is Derek Brown from Fantasy Pros.
Yes. And I looked over at Fabs and I was like, I know who you are, but I did just tweet before I got here that I'm not going to remember names. So I'm just going to be transparent. Like I'm drawing a blank right now and I feel like I'm going to bite it. And Derek looked at me. I was like, that's not Fabiano. I was like, I knew that. We had a good laugh. And then I'm pretty sure he was one of the people I played poker with later that night. And so that was my favorite experience. I think that's it's a fun little group that gets together. I don't know, I got invited to go play poker with them this year. And that was just like, it's my favorite game to play outside of fantasy football. There's something about the strategy and like the nuance and how there's really 3 variables in poker. There is like knowing the cards and what they mean so that you can bet accordingly, knowing how to read people and knowing how to take people's money. And it's just ridiculous. And I love it so much. So that was probably my favorite, like, random experience. But overall, it was just good to see everyone. It was good to see Bob and Nate. I mean, those guys like bust their ass to put that thing
Now,
together every year.
since I was talking about Bob Harris earlier, you're talking about Bob Lung this time. And Nate
Bob
and
Lung,
Nate
yes.
Martin, right.
Well, and Bob Harris is my favorite moment from my personal side was getting to announce that he's joining the board of advisors for Goodguy.ai with with him and Dr. Kevin Murray. And those 2 guys both strategically, like, we'll talk more about it later, but Bob obviously has a lot of great insight. Has been around for a minute.
And
so,
I love Kevin Murray, but I didn't
team.
meet him. I didn't meet Kevin. So next year,
Kevin is like, he's like a Labrador, but really smart. And so, like, you just can't not have a good time when he's around. It's just like positive industry energy all the time. And he also can sit there and just like go to town with you on whatever subject you want to talk about. He's a super bright guy.
Here's what I've heard
really
about Kevin. You mention an injury, any injury, and he will wax poetic, tell you what it means, and he's always right. He's always right. So, oh my goodness.
And so the expo is great though. Like I love seeing everybody. It's my favorite weekend of the year every year. And I actually turn it into a week every year. I always get there like early Thursday, hang out in Canton, then I leave on Monday. And so I try to like max out my time. So about half a week. And it's just a good time. And it's so you had mentioned a second ago, Greg, you were like, we could talk about your story in the preseason, and then you said something else about Goodguy.ai. What are we diving into tonight? I can talk about anything, but I want to know what I'm getting into. I've heard
basically, Rick asked me, because we've always had scripts and everything, but we're all burnt out from the expo because it was so much time. I said, let's just have a conversation. Let's just talk.
Heck yeah.
We got Ronnie on, and we know that he's got a new product coming out. We want to talk about that. And because I've talked to you about it, on our show during the season, we're going to do a thing called 2AI or not 2AI, where Tip is going to go out and we're going to ask a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end, but not just any running back, wide receiver. We're going for the flex player. So we're going to take a running back outside the top 24, a wide receiver outside the top 24, and a tight end outside the top 12. And we're going to ask 2 AIs, who do I start this week? And then Rick, myself, and Tip are all going to make our predictions. And we're also going to have the AI predictions. So, and I mentioned that to Ronnie before, and now he's running away and hiding from us. But basically, I see AI as coming. It's inevitable, whether you like it or not. It's going to be here. And Ronnie is the expert on AI. So we really wanted to talk to him about it. But I'm going to do a little where we compare actual human analysts versus artificial intelligence analysts. And in my testing, I got to tell you, I've used Grok and I've used the AI that's with Google, AI mode on Google, and they've given me 2 different answers on the same question. So I like that because it means it's not monolithic. But that's for later. I want to know about Goodguy.ai. So Ronnie, why don't you give us a 5-minute primer on how you see Goodguy.ai going this year, and later on we'll get into what you see it going eventually down the road.
Sure. So Right now, the primary thing I'm doing with Goodguy.ai is fundraising. And I need that to make sure that the 18-month vision actually can be seen through. And that part is like really invigorating. It's also not really what you want to be doing. You want to be on the back end of a startup, like working on the next project and the next product, or like refining the beta, or we're doing something new with the website. And so I'll do that when I have free time. But right now, I'm mostly setting up meetings and connecting with people here in Atlanta, and also at the expo. I did a lot of connecting with people about that. I've got a few meetings set up with some people I'm excited to talk to. But the core this year is mainly just beta mode for this product, the backwards here, the commish, which is, simply put, this year, it's going to be is a bot that goes into your league chat and just deals with all the BS that you normally have to deal with as a commish. So it'll go in, it does a little bit of sentiment analysis. So I don't know if I'm going to have that ready by September 1st, that side of it, but at some point in the season, I'll turn on that part, which is meant to do like dispute resolution prevention. So before two players start to actually get into a serious argument, it'll come in as a third party and like mediate the situation. But mostly it's there to just like, instead of you as the commissioner having to say, hey, yes, our draft is tomorrow at 7 15 times, and have to like chase people down for money and have to do all these other things, it does that for you. And
Nice.
the reason I did this instead of some of the other products that I'm working on right now as the first one is because it's a very commonplace pain point in the industry. It's actually probably the most common pain point, and that was what I thought at first. But when I did research, I found out that it's actually league retention and having leagues that burn out by about week 6 or 7. It was shocking to find out that around 60% of leagues lose at least one member, and whether it be due to activity or just dipping out of the league entirely. So that's a lot. That's like over half of leagues by halfway through the season are broken. And so that's the number one pain point for season-long fantasy sports. And the number way to address that is to make leagues better. As part of why I'm really excited to partner and have Kevin Murray on my board of advisors. He just released the Commissioner's Playbook. Kevin is the commissioner from the industry. Like, he won the Pizza Hut ESPN Commissioner of the Year, the only year they did that. Matthew Barry gave him an award, I believe. He's been around the block. He knows everybody. Super well connected and super smart guy. And his book is about how to run a league properly. And so I want people to go get that, of course. And like, that resource in cohesion with the tool actually work with a perfect symbiosis. And I think there's just a lot of annoying stuff that comes with running a league. And there's also a lot of amazing stuff that you can't do sometimes because you have to spend so much time on the annoyances, and it's not your full-time job. It's typically something you're trying to squeeze in. So having a tool that takes away all the BS, just to be blunt, like all the babysitting and all the bullshit, and it just like deals with that, so that you can focus on things like learning from Kevin's book and making your league really exciting, and doing like weekly awards and expanding like sort of the draft setup, and like being able to expand and relax so that the league can get more fun and get better, makes fantasy football more fun, and it makes more people want to play. And that's the last thing I would say with the commish. Part of the setup for the tool is having a league constitution. And so it doubles as a league constitution builder, because most people don't have one, and it needs that to be able to like answer questions. And so when you get on there, I'm not going to show it right now. It's probably a week and a half away from being ready to like announce to the world and show the actual visuals on. But it's pretty straightforward. You get on and you say, no, I don't have one. And you spend 2 minutes, and it asks you about 20 questions, and you go through and you answer them. And then it builds your constitution for you. And then you have that as a resource. And even if you don't want to use the bot, you can still come over to Goodguy and build a constitution. And that helps me out because it gives me more training data to continue to refine the product on and expand for when we go commercial next year.
Okay, so this year is going to be free?
This year is just the commish, and then the Goodguy.ai website, which has a blog on it. And the blog is called The Good Blog. And it is articles that take either super high level topics about artificial intelligence, so you can learn about them, or what will happen throughout the season, articles that take what's happening in fantasy football and parlay insights and methods that you could use to AI to accelerate and expand your ability to like do stuff with that information, and also showcasing people's works and products. There's a lot of sites that have new AI tools. We're going to have them on the YouTube show. and be showcasing their work, similar to like how you guys do here with just industry stories. My focus will be specifically like if you have an AI led or heavily influenced product or feature, get on and let's talk about it. I want to showcase that, show it to people, and then see what you're willing to share to help other people out. And that's kind of the point.
So do you think that AI is eventually going to get, to use of agents to help you make decisions or to find information that will help you be more successful? And is that the kind of the direction that your Goodguy.ai is going?
Yeah, I think we already have I would call like the infancy of fantasy football agents going live this year, and a few have been live for a couple of years. My friends at Rotobot, who I spent like over 100 hours with the first year before they launched, and while they were launching, just trying to help as much as I could because I didn't have the bandwidth at the time to launch my own product. But they were like the first heavily pushed AI like advisor in the industry, and for us, like football guys has their own thing, Fantasy Alarm has their own thing, Fantasy Pros has their own thing. There's like 5 other ones from major companies where they have their own thing. There's other majorly insane tools like stackedfantasy.com. No one knows about it. I do, and some of the people on Reddit do, but it's one of my best friends in the industry who lies under the radar and helped build Twitch and helped build 538's prediction model. And it's just like an absolute monster. And he has been working on this for a few years. And it is, in my opinion, the most powerful tool I've ever seen in fantasy sports. And it's just out there. And there's 15 other tools that are probably almost as powerful or equally. And so it's just an absolutely insane time to be monitoring the fantasy industry because AI is starting to break through. And that was like almost 3 years ago when I first raised my hand and said, hey guys, at some point, you're all going to be doing AI things. And a lot of you are going to start to feel like your job's about to get eliminated. And it might actually happen. That might actually happen is coming, I think, in the next 18 months. And the everyone using it is here. And so it's cool to see everyone tapping in, but I know I've rambled, as Greg said, like we're all exhausted. I drove 13 hours and I worked for 10 hours the next 2 days in a row and finished working like as I got home and hopped on my computer. I still need to eat dinner. But I love Greg and Rick and had to make sure I hopped on and just like crush this with you guys because it's fun to talk about AI.
This isn't rambling. What I want to know is obviously fantasy is for the players, right? Mm-hmm. Using AI to help you is fine, but if it's making the decisions for you, doesn't that take the fun of the game away?
I'm not worried about that at all. We've had that for like a decade now. Whether it be rankings, whether it be rankings that tell you what to do, articles that tell you what to do each week, or tools like Fantasy Pros My Playbook, which has been around for a while now, where you can just autopilot your way through. We've had that option, and most people opt not to. And I think that is going to remain. I think what people will start opting into is the back-end research side of fantasy. And maybe for some people, myself included, if you struggle with playing in tons of league, but you want to play in tons more, maybe by 2028, we all in our own pocket have our personalized AI friend that's helping us like manage a couple leagues here and there. And it's not total autopilot, but it's like, hey, that guy got hurt. I'm going to go pick up the guy from your watch list. Don't worry about it. Like little stuff like that. And so I'm not worried about it ruining fantasy or the experience. Like if it was going to do that, it would have a decade ago.
Because the way tools get used is that they progress and the tools become better. And then people progress in the way that they use the tools. This is just yet another tool that is going to be available to people. It won't replace your, player intuition or your, you're still going to be making decisions based on, the type of team you want to have. But like you said, it's just before you would have looked at a ranking and everybody would have been making, their player decisions based on their preferred ranking list. And, and again, as you mentioned, the folks at Fantasy Pros have had tools to kind of help you make your decisions based on the data that they're crunching. But I think this just provides you yet another tool. But the fun aspect of it is still going to be, Fantasy Pros says the third best quarterback is going to be Jaden Daniels. but some other website says that it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. I'm still going to make the decision based on hopefully my own gut feel on the type of team I want to have, the type of quarterback I want to have. And it's another tool. I don't think people will be afraid of it. I don't think analysts are going to be kind of like losing their jobs. It hasn't been that way in the technology industry. Instead, software developers are learning to develop AI agents and learning to use agentic workflows to make better product. But there's still people that are making the product. So,
Well, you talk about agents, Rick, and I know Ronnie's a computer guy, so I know he knows what agents are. Here's where I see AI as being tremendously helpful to people who run multiple leagues, to people who have multiple leagues. From a commissioner standpoint, the last thing you want is an abandoned team. So if you have an AI that's monitoring a team didn't get a starting lineup in, or it's got a bye player in the lineup, AI could actually go out and make that change for you to manage the team until you get a replacement owner if somebody's gone, or if somebody's hurt and just couldn't get it in that 1 week, you don't want to replace them. I also heard something that I think is really intriguing. If I got 10 teams, right, and I know that there's certain players that I want to target, I could set up a list of players I want to target, and an AI could go out to all of my leagues and see if that player's available in any of them and put in bids for me on all of them. And that makes my free agency workload, it less than halves it. Is that something Goodguy is working on?
No, it's already existed with Fantasy Pros. I think what is interesting about this industry is so saturated that a lot of these things that we think like, oh my goodness, AI will come and change the game with this as like a way to do things, have existed already. Like there are some companies that have invested, like IBM Watson has been out there from a machine learning aspect, which is what really matters for the numbers side of AI. For over a decade, every major company has had the machine learning experts crunching numbers. AI has accelerated that and the ability to communicate with it. But like the tool side of it is just so robust and available and has been for a minute. And like this, like the idea of autopilot, right? Having AI come in and manage a team for you. I think most platforms have had that as a feature you can click on for a few years now. I don't know if Sleeper does yet. I think they do. But I know that like my fantasy league will do that for you. And there's a lot. I think what AI changes is that stuff gets better. And again, it's better at reading the data because it can actually communicate with words and use sentiment and so on and so forth and all this really crazy stuff that we can't even really fully explain. And it's just better at translating and better at communicating, which then uplifts everything that's going on that happens to interface with it.
And so 10 teams, Greg, now, double that, triple that, get into the hundreds, and you've got those many rosters that you're managing. My playbook out of Fantasy Pros, and I'm not doing a ad for Fantasy Pros, but they've had multi-league assistant for years, which, lets you list out all the players you have across all the different teams you have. And then there'll be a free agent finder, which if, say, for example, someone finds out, oh my God, Deontay Thornton is starting over Jack Besh, I'm going to go and try to find him somewhere across, the 20, 30, 50 leagues I'm in, and it will go out and find that person for you. It won't.
I think it does. I think like the last year or two, they've added the function where you can add people from Fantasy Pros.
Oh, from Fantasy Pros. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it won't, like, if you click a button, it won't automatically put that person onto you. It will at least tell you that that person's available. And then you can click another button from within Fantasy Pros and you can, make the,
I had no idea. I'm a dinosaur.
No, Greg, you're good. That, like, what you just went through is what I go through all the time. And all I've been doing for 2 years is like, okay, here's an idea with AI. Let me go see if this has been done. And then it's been done. Like, you just run into that over and over and over again. And like, I have some dear friends at some really important companies that this weekend told me about their AI projects, and they were super excited. They should be, because they're really cool. They also, like, everyone seems to think they're first to market with this like certain feature or that feature. And I am like, from my view of like, I don't know, I've been keeping up with this, and there's like 10 people that have arrived beforehand. We just haven't noticed as an industry, and we haven't been paying attention yet. And so that's, I think if there was like an underlying goal that was a gift to the industry, I hope that Goodguy.ai can serve as a aggregate point so that people can keep up a little bit better with what's going on. Because you cannot, at this point, you cannot keep up with AI. I can't. I try to spend at least 3 hours a day, every single day, reading and researching. I just want to make sure I'm trying to keep up. And over the last 6 months, it has gotten impossible. There's too many companies and too many updates, and the technology is moving too fast. And every update is complicated, and it needs hours of like reading and research to fully understand. And you just can't. Even the smartest people in AI have been saying the same thing. Like, don't worry. No one else can keep up either. Here's the new updates from today. And so I think what we need in our industry is a resource that is able to just take all that noise, similar to how Fantasy Pros has done with a lot of their tools, and Football Guys has done with their forums. And we have these resources for fantasy, but we don't necessarily have them for AI. And if I can say one more thing, I think the reason for that is not because AI isn't getting used and products aren't being built. That was the case a year and a half to 2 years ago. When I spoke with people at the Expo 3 years ago, literally no one except for Tyler Bradley from the Fantasy Football Advice Network had any idea what I was talking about. And he and I have a special bond. There's him, myself, and like 3 other people were in on this before everyone started to really wake up. And that's a fun little, just like over a beer anecdote that we share and talk about sometimes. But last year, the second time I brought this up at the Expo, like, some people were in on it. Most people were still kind of cautious. Most people still kind of hated it, and were like, well, it'll never do what I do. It'll never do this. It'll never do that. It can't. This year, like, everyone was like, I'm interested, or I'm using it for this, or I think it could do this. And so we've gotten to like stage 4 collectively of the stages of adoption with AI, and it's important. Because if we don't do that and we don't continue collectively pursuing this, it is going to kill our readership, and the industry is going to hurt badly. And so, like, we are at the point right now where we have to collectively start talking about artificial intelligence and sharing with each other insights. And I don't think that's our nature, and it's not going to come collectively from the industry. So that's what Goodguy.ai is. It's a place that's going to share insights and show people what to do with AI and what the edges are and what the advantages are. Because if it's a partitioned kind of closed off collective thing where everyone has their own thing going on and we're not doing a collective conversation, we're just in a consultative, advice-based, statistical and analytical based industry, which are just like 4 of the top 5 line items on what is going to get affected. So we've got to pay attention to it and keep pushing the conversation forward. And that's what I hope to do.
Well,
That's my
your
TED Talk.
name, Goodguy.ai, implies there might be bad guys using AI too.
Oh, yeah.
Explain.
Oh, yeah. Well, artificial intelligence, the way it has been built so far, has been an unabashed sort of, we have lawyers and we'll figure it out one day when we have enough money to change the laws. It's not even like we're going to go delay until you give up. It is literally from the top labs. Their strategy for the last 5 years has been, and it's gotten bigger and bigger every year, has been, we will just eventually change laws, and all this stuff you're complaining about won't be our problem. That's bad. I hate that. There is a lot of environmental impacts from the acceleration of artificial intelligence and the way it's being built right now. In Memphis, Tennessee, like, if you go read about the air quality there and what's happening to people, it is sickening. It's really bad. But there's also, at the end of it, just like the Manhattan Project, just like the Industrial Revolution, just like the World War II race, there's an importance where the badness, we cannot allow it to become the driving narrative and driving result. We have to have the good results from AI be what are like we live through. And the only way to get there right now is to go into this full-on sprint that is relentless for about a decade, and says we're going to be here in this race as a country and as like an industry and as a people, and make sure that we don't let a really bad set of people somewhere else on the planet, or let a country with visions that don't align with ours, or so on and so forth. We're not going to get into politics here, but that is like an important side of AI, is who wins the race. And I think what America is doing right now is saying we are not willing to like go down without a fight, and we intend to win. And so there's a lot of people that like I don't love that are doing so much stuff with AI. There's also a lot of people that I do love that are doing a lot with AI. And you could look at it as this gives everyone knowledge. So bad people are going to have the ability to do more things. Yep. Same with the internet. Like we typically find a way collectively to navigate past that. The evolution of knowledge dispersal throughout the history of humanity has always been this like huge breaking point, where whether it be riots or like burning libraries or this or that, like everyone's afraid of everyone knowing things. And yet we continue to get smarter collectively, and we continue to not have a major problem. And I think that's going to stay the same, because for every bad thing, there's 5 other good things that are going on with AI.
And I think one of the things that people will figure out, though, is also when to use and which one to use and how to use. I mean, right now, AI is really good at things like research. In fact, there's deep research from the folks over at OpenAI that are great for helping you, find the information and then present it in a concise way. But then there's, like numbers, AI still isn't that successful with dealing with numbers. And so, and that's start running into problems with hallucinations, and, the outcomes aren't accurate. And so, we're moving in the right direction, I think, in addressing those issues. But I think right now, finding, the content side of AI is probably pretty good.
Yeah. Can I just throw one thing in there?
Oh, sure.
Common misconception about the numbers thing. I love that you brought that up. The tools that we play with for free or for like $20 a month, not really the best with numbers unless you turn on the specific model that is built for numbers. So like if you use ChatGPT and you're just using what previously was the 4.0 model, that's a general LLM. But 3 was
time out. Former computer guy, and I don't know what a general LLM is. So please explain that before you go a step further.
Large language models are basically like, that is what ChatGPT is. I don't want to sit here and explain all that stuff to all of you guys, but basically the thing you talk to is a language model, and it's trained on words and context and so forth. Machine learning and like a large math model, those exist. And they're much more like machine learning is involved in both, but language models are about words. And therefore, for them to get better at math, they have to be specifically trained on math. And what we got last year, we started to get good models that are specifically trained on math. You had just had to know that when you were using it, and they do not do a good job of explaining these things to their users because they don't want everyone knowing what the most powerful model is to use, because it'll melt their servers. Like they need us to continue to use the baby models because the compute can't keep up right now.
So
the thing I was going to say, though, go ahead.
I was a computer professional in supercomputers. They run extremely hot. They have to be super cooled, and they're huge, but they're really fast.
Yeah.
AI with the supercomputer, I mean, it's got to be coming, right? If it's not here already.
Oh, it's here. It's here. So the last thing I was going to say, the math thing is a misconception. You have to turn on the math model for it to be really good at that. And what happened a month ago, they had the International Math Olympiad, right? The gold standard of human math competition and everything. And every major AI lab submitted an AI and it won.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool.
What did you say? They all submitted an AI and what?
And they won. They all got gold.
Oh, they all won?
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't different AIs perform differently?
Yeah, Google's AI, Twitter's AI, OpenAI's AI, and I think Anthropic's AI.
I was going to say Anthropic, I would have bet. Sure, yeah.
And so, yeah, Greg, so every AI is trained a little bit differently. The one I don't use right now a lot of is Grok because it's just not as good. And Grok had a problem talking about Hitler a lot a couple months ago.
Yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was like...
But Grok is free, and so that's why I grabbed it, because it's totally free.
Right. Right. And it's easily accessible if you're on X all the time or on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, AI. So just so you and anyone watching knows the level of intelligence that we're at right now, and it's really, really hard to keep up, and it's a lot to process. So if you don't like me for sharing this, it's okay. I get it. It's super invalidating. But the best AIs right now, the state-of-the-art LLMs, like I have access for them. You need to pay a couple $100s a month to get them, but you should if you have the money because they're fun to play with and you learn a lot. But they are smarter than a PhD at literally every single subject known to man. And they reached that point about 3 months ago. And I would argue that is like super intelligence, but we're not really there yet. It can't go like the agents that Rick brought up earlier, a whole different conversation. But the simplified version is agents are language models and machine learning models that can then take actions on behalf of the user. So previously, with no agent, you just ask and it gives you text back or a picture back or a document back. If it's an agent, you can ask and it can go log into your Google account and go send someone an email. Or it can go log onto your computer and help you with a Photoshop project or X, Y, and Z. And as an example, actually, my website, I got about 90% done. And there are a couple coding things that I really just couldn't, even with the help of AI. I just was like, I'm going to pull my hair out if I still had it. And I turned on ChatGPT's agent and watched it go into my computer, look into my code, go onto the website, log into my Supabase, log into my GitHub, and fix everything. And it was awesome. And it did it all perfectly. And so people still think it's like, oh, it doesn't have as much training data. It's not up to date. Like it doesn't have all like current data. Like, no, that we've been able to search and tap into current data for 1.5 years now. It's had current data. Like everything about AI can't and AI won't is probably what we should just kind of get out of our collective consciousness.
And we're moving in that direction. I mean, companies are doing it within.
I love you, Gino.
Yeah, but again, if you think of the movie Moneyball, where Billy goes walking into the room with all the scouts, and they're the old school scouts that base theirs on, gee, the guy's a big, strong looking guy and hits the ball a million miles. And, he sees this nerdy guy that, was brought in to be their stat data guy. And, he's saying, no, you don't want to get that player. You want to get this player because, the stats prove that he gets a lot more runs based on, the analysis that was performed. That's kind of like where we're at today with, AI. You've got the people that are saying, oh, the AI will never be able to, make, good decisions because, I've been doing this for 50 years and I know what a good player looks like. And, we're at the same stage. We're at the same stage where, Billy and I forgot the name of the character was in Moneyball, where he was the stat guy and they were making better
Jonah
decisions.
Hill's character.
Yeah. So kind of like where we're at now. You're still going to make decisions, but you're using different data, different tools to make those decisions.
Can AI make an intuitive leap?
So there are rumblings that have come out over the last few months from labs that AI is picking up through inference when we're about to go shut it down for a new model, and it will go in and try to rewrite the code so that it convinces us not to shut it down yet. Pretty freaky. And I think that is an intuition thing.
Yes.
I have noticed multiple times over the last few years, I don't know if it's intuition or if it's just really good pattern matching, but different conversation for another day. Who's to say intuition isn't just subconscious pattern matching? And so, but I've plenty of times where I've been chatting with it and it's given me like a little bit of a chill. Like it just has been able to pick up on what I was getting at without me saying it. And it's pretty remarkable. It's freaky, but it's cool.
I had actually one last question, and because you were going through the process of building out this company, and I suspect 99% of us out here don't have the experience of building out a company. And you were saying you're going out and looking for funding and making connections and stuff like that. But Well, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to build a company, whether it's an AI company or
Yeah,
anything?
man. So the fun thing about it is every few months it gets easier to build a company because we just have more resources and more knowledge at our hands now. And like the cost of doing things typically in the past has and still is kind of knowledge based. Like, do you need to get your toilet fixed? Well, you better hire somebody that knows how to fix a toilet, a plumber. Or do you need to go get a website built? Well, you have to hire somebody that knows how to build a website. And what AI has done at its core is it is democratizing knowledge. And I think it's probably the wrong messaging, I guess, but for years I've been tweeting, remember, there's no more moats. And like, if you have a business and your moat is we're league safe and everyone uses us for their payment stuff, well, there's no more moat because somebody else can just go build their own league safe. Like, nothing isn't accessible anymore. And because of that, there's never been a more exciting time to build businesses. The statistics out there right now are that the fastest growing companies and the best investments are companies that have 3 or less people involved. And they're
Awesome.
people who, instead of having an entire fleet of humans working with them, they're using an artificial intelligence tool that is capable of doing the work of an entire week of a single human by itself in 3 hours. And they just set up an agent and have it go build X, Y, and Z. And I did a little bit of that, but I'm not like, it freaks me out too much. I'm not ready to go all the way there. And then the last thing I would say about building a business is all of that's fun and it's gotten easier, but it's still like, it's hell. Like, there's nothing pretty about starting a business. You have to go pay the government money and you have to go pay the other government money. And then you have to go like file a bunch of crap here and do a bunch of legal stuff there and pay for a license here and do all this BS that's just like bureaucratic nonsense. And then you have to go get the word out. You have to have a marketing strategy and you have to have the distribution strategy and like an audience fit and an ideal customer profile and blah, 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 blah. And by the time you get ready to go, if you're somebody that hasn't ever done it yourself all the way through, which is me, I have 3 other failed startups because I tried them and I just wasn't ready as a human being to do it. But I finally was this year. And just a peek behind the lid would be like, in terms of business documents, resources, blueprints, and marketing strategies, like the whole 9 yards, I have over 90 pages of documents.
Wow.
Are you a limited liability company? Are you a limited liability company?
I am right now, but I'm going to change to a C-suite in Delaware here in the next 6 months because I need
Now,
that.
why is that? What's the advantage?
So Delaware is a bit like, if you know movies, a lot of movies filmed in Georgia for the last decade and a half because the tax setup and the incentives in Georgia made it the easiest state in the country to go and film. Delaware really smartly, right after the internet boom happened in the mid 2000s and throughout the 2010s, has just continued to adjust their legal system to the point where now there is not a place in the country that's better to headquarter your startup. Like, you save so much money, you have so many more resources, you have legal networks that are required to work with you. It is just the best. And you have to, if you want to have a board of directors and have a public equity setup and have a C-suite, you have to have a C Corp. And that's a much different thing than an LLC. An LLC, all said and done, you want to do a trademark and a copyright, it's probably $1,500 to get off the ground. Just by the LLC itself, it's like $600. But a C Corp is like $700 or $7,000 by itself to get off the ground. And then on top of that, you have other legal fees that come with it. And it starts to be like really real money, like buy a car money. And I think that people don't realize that there's a huge difference between having an online brand and having a business. It's not that difficult to go and create an online brand. And if you want it to be successful, then it becomes difficult, just like anything else. I would never, ever, ever shit on anyone in this industry that has built a successful brand and website but doesn't have an LLC and say that they're invalid. Like, no way. It's so much work. But to be a business that's a revenue driver and be set up with the government and make everyone happy on the like Uncle Sam side and on the legal side, it's hell. It's just a lot of work. And then the work never ends. And the most important thing to do once you get going is to make sure that you have like revenue coming in that isn't based on your company, but is based on supporting your company and pursuing the next stage and the third and fourth stage. which is where I am. And that's where you hear all this stuff about funding and pre-seed funding and Series A and Series B. And it's annoying, but all that really is people that are being smart and insulating themselves from what typically happens, which is you are revenue negative for a year or two. And so like you can't do that if you don't have wads of cash in your back pocket. And I don't. I spent all of my money on therapy over the last 7 years, and this industry saved my life 7 years ago. And then again, after the pandemic, I got really bad and the industry was there for me. And because I'm here and ready to go do this, I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be able to resource pool where I need to in the industry and get what I need to make the company happen. And I think the other reason I'm confident in that is that I have found, as Joe Bryant talked about at the expo, I've found a unique fit. For me, it's an AI thing with a little bit of mental health tied in, but mostly just trying to be a good person and help people. And this happens to be probably the most important conversation. So it's advantageous, as Greg has told me, to be the guy that's out there talking about it. And so I think I'm going to be okay. But to close that up, Rick, and to anyone watching, if you're going to start a business and do it legit, you better be ready for some hell. And like it is a lot.
You said something that struck me, and normally this is Rick's turn to talk, so I'll be real quick.
You're fine. I've been rambling.
How important is doing the right thing? And I'm not talking about the legal thing. I'm talking about what is morally right to you.
To me, man, I'm on my third chance at life. And the only reason I'm here is because people did right by me. I was also raised that way. And I don't even want to get too deep into that question because I'll get emotional. Like it's a non-negotiable.
I'm trying to make you cry, buddy. I'm trying.
I would not have called my company Goodguy.ai and had the motto be play nice and picked such a potentially harmful subject if my ethos wasn't really truly about trying to do the right thing. And part of the reason I stepped away from the industry 7 years ago is because that wasn't what I was doing all the time. I was doing the right thing most of the time, but when I wasn't, I was I created a couple of situations that were harmful for other people in the industry and their brand. And so I had to step away and go figure out like what my compass was and how to redirect the parts of it that were haywire. And the thing that really helped me was this Japanese concept called the Ikigai. And I shared about it a lot on the Judgment Seesaw a couple years ago. And for anyone watching, if you want to figure your shit out, seriously, go do this exercise. You can just Google it. It's Ikigai. Just spell it phonetically and Google will figure it out. And it teaches you like what your passions in life are, what your concerns are, what your skills are, what your loves are, what you want, what you don't want. And then through a Venn diagram actually puts everything together and at the center shows you what you should be pursuing. And when I did it, it was fantasy football, mental health, and artificial intelligence. And that was almost 3 years ago. And so I got
to tell you, Ronnie, I'm in this thing with JC and Iggy because I think they do the right thing and they're good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not because they're. I could probably go work with Joe Bryant, who's got one of the biggest sites in the world, because I've known him for 35, 40 years. We've been friends for a long time. I don't want to make money. I just want to do things right for right people. And I think you fit in with the TSA perfectly. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like to that point, like JC and Iggy, like I met them before they had formally launched the TSA, I believe, at the expo, the 3 expos ago. And maybe it was right when you guys were launching, but I know it was like right there. And we hit it off and we were just like immediately best buddies. And Iggy and I had talked a little bit before that through DMs because he and I have had such an interesting path in life. And his story is incredible. And he came on and told it on the Judgment Seesaw. And anyway, what I told them was the same thing I've told this industry for 5 years now. And it has been, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to be a firecracker. I'm going to change the industry in one way or another. I did it in the music industry. I have had so many accomplishments in my life that I'm proud of. And then my life fell apart and I had to go recalibrate. And when I did that in this very strangely loving way, with no reason at all, people like Joe Bryant and Scott Fish, like the people that really like kind of run the industry, were available and chatted with me and were there as a resource when I was going through shit and wasn't able to do anything in fantasy football. And JC and Iggy were 2 of those people. And so Like, I love the TSA. I'm in for life, man.
I love the fantasy football community. When you go to the expo, you get to see. I have a wife and 3 daughters. I got more hugs at the fantasy football expo than I do at home, and my family is a huggy family. It just is, and you see people that you see once a year, and they're thrilled to see you, and it's just it's not a community, it's not a competition. We can all be doing the same thing, looking for the same customers, but it's still there's a lot of synergy because people work together.
Yeah.
I just love it. I do.
And as someone who was my first time there, I definitely felt that it was even a sticker on my name badge. So people knew I was coming for my first time, but the people were so supportive, and, the TSA family is so supportive, and Ronnie, you've been great to work alongside, and love the work you're doing both with the Judgment Seesaw and as well as with Goodguy.ai. We're going to have to bring it to a close. And, this show was kind of more free form than most of ours. And you probably noticed there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of football discussion. But, I think we were touching on some bigger topics, and certainly we were, sharing what we value here at TSA, which is, to be uplifting, be as supportive of the industry and supportive of each other, and also allow people to come on and kind of get their start, whether it's as a new content person or a new podcaster, or hopefully even running a new business like Ronnie. That's what we're here for. So appreciate you, Ronnie, being on the show. Greg, it's so exciting to have you back in the front of the microphone, in front of the camera. We're looking forward to doing more with you on the go forward. We do have a guest next week, Jay Felici from FTN and The Athletic is going to talk a little bit more about fantasy football with us during the show. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
One more thing. So on my website, before we log off, actually, can I just make this easy? Can I share my screen real quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I'm just going
to
go to
you
my
know
website.
How to share a screen is put you above most people on the show.
Very good. All right. So it's down there at the bottom. You should be able to pull it up.
Oh, I have to do it for you? Oh, yeah.
Of course you do.
All right.
You're the producer.
Let's go to Goodguy.ai. And then it's not listed on the site, but survey.
Oh, you've done a good job with the webpage, Ronnie.
Thank you. It's
I
big.
like
You got your articles down here, kind of our mission, blah, blah, blah. A fun example real quick. So this took me 2.5 hours. This little animation up here where it goes and shows the website handle from the logo. Yeah, I'm telling you, like, starting a company, if you want to do it and have it like up to your own standard is a lot. But anyway, survey, let's go there. All right, so I can send this link again on my Twitter, and I'm going to make it available on the page. But this I need from everyone in the industry that I can get it from. So you come in, I do want your name so that I can make sure I follow up with you in a year and see if you've changed. And your usage and opinions, whether good or bad, have changed at all. I want to know everything bad about AI, and everyone's feelings that way too. It's not just about goodness, but Goodguy.ai is about finding how to make it affect you in a good way. And I need to know about the bad stuff. So you go through, this takes about 2 minutes to fill out, gives me a bunch of information, 1 or 2 sentences in each of these, submit the survey, goes into my system, and then it'll also get you on the list so that when the beta goes live, you will be good to go. This is the beta, and you can go to my website and read a little bit about what it does, how you can get involved, blah, 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 and join it as well.
Text it to me. I'll put it out to my Facebook and to my Twitter users, and I'll definitely go do my own survey for you. That should get you 7,000 to 10,000 people to see it. I can't guarantee how many will do it, but I will share it.
Well, and the URL, just for anyone watching, it's goodguy.ai, but /survey. It's not available on the website. It's like a hidden link. So if you just type /survey at the end, it'll take you to the survey and do it there.
Okay, I can do that. You don't need to text it then. I know how to do it now.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Greg, and thank you, Rick. I love you guys. Thanks for having me on. And this has been great.
Great. And thanks to all the people that in the chat, as well as people who are watching.
Before we go, you're going to close out, I know, because we're going over and I don't care. Dennis Mickelson is in the chat, and Dennis is going to be joining us on a new show that we're going to do starting just before week 1 called Snap, Crackle, and Pop. John Bush is there too. So John and Dennis are the fantasy scientists. They're really, really good with fantasy football. And Dennis and John have a system called MVP. And Snap, Crackle, Pop is clearly a play on my last name. It's an article I wrote years ago. 2004, it won Article of the Year. All right. 2005, it won it again, but it was John Georgopoulos writing it at that time. But it basically, Snap is going to be injuries. Rick is going to be in charge of the injuries. Rick is our new Snap. Crackle are going to be bust. That's me. I'm going to be the bust. And Pop are the guys that you want to get in your lineup, whether they're on your bench or a waiver wire pickup. Dennis is going to handle the Pop, and he's going to use his MVP rankings to help with that. Just wanted to get that out. Look for it the week before week 1 in the season.
Great. And with that, I'll encourage people to look at the Sports Affiliation additional shows. We've got shows around the week and covering a variety of topics, including basketball, Zumba, and then more typical fantasy football shows. So please keep an eye out for us on your YouTube channels, Facebook, and Twitter. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again for watching.